Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Riverside Stadium, where very stupidly, as you can see, I've left my coat in the press room. So I'm just stood here in a gilet and a jumper, probably going to be very, very cold whilst I talk you through the afternoon's events here on Teesside, where Norwich City have, well, their three-game championship winning run has been ended by a very, very good Middlesbrough team. They've been beaten 1-0 here this afternoon. Hayden Hackney's stunning goal, which I've just heard some of the Middlesbrough some of my Middlesbrough colleagues talking about him apparently describing it as the best goal that he scored. Has settled a game where it was quite even, really, for long periods. I think this was always going to be a test of how well Norwich City could compete against what I feel is the best team currently in the Championship on form and on performance. And I think we saw why today in terms of that. So that's kind of my big headline message at the start. I think Norwich City have past what has been a pretty tough week in terms of playing the top two to take 3 points from possible six, 9 from possible 12 over a 4-game stretch that included trips to Wrexham and West Brom. I think is an incredibly successful period of time ahead of now what is, as we'll speak about towards the back end of this video, what feels like a really big opportunity over the next couple of weeks, where they've got 3 of their next 4 championship games at home, and they play 3 teams in Blackburn, Oxford, and Sheffield Wednesday, who are towards the wrong end of the table. So, real opportunity there to try and push on. So, look, not the end of the world today, I think, is what I would say. You look at their last few results, the fact that Preston and Southampton came here in the last 2 games and were both put away for 4. This is a team under Kim Helberg who are very good, very astute, very capable, both offensively and defensively. And I think the fact that Norwich City have stayed in the game for lengthy periods of it is a real testament to how much they've grown and how much they've improved since Philippe Clement came in. And certainly one, I hope anyway, that people aren't going to overreact about or kind of digest in any other way than actually it was really positive. And I think the fact that 1,300 Norwich fans in that corner there applauded them off, cheered them off for their efforts, I think is a testament to what it was, because it's just probably a lack of quality and some poor decision making in the final third, coupled with obviously a very good side that has seen them lose this game. And we will come on to obviously the error that led to that. Let's start at the beginning of the game then, because I think I was really intrigued to see how Norwich lined up. The fact that Jacob Wright came in for Pella Matson, the fact that Harry Amas, who's injured his hamstring, and Philippe Clement has confirmed post-game that's a very serious one. That's going to keep him out for a significant period of time. So that left Ben Krasenez the only left-back option. It was a first start in a while for Paparamadou Diallo. There was lots there, I think, that left with intrigue, how that sort of attacking dynamic worked, with Makama spearheading, with Slimani in the 10, with Ahmed and Diallo either side. And I thought Norwich first half did really well. The game started really Borough in the ascendancy, created a couple of opportunities in the opening 2-3 minutes or so. There was one, I think it was Hackney from range, that tested Vladan Kovacevic. But thereafter, really, Norwich got a foothold in the game. I thought their press was really good, but actually just the pressure they applied to Middlesbrough through their block, it was quite a sort of mid to high block at points, and they really squeezed the game and squeezed Borough, who, when they play and when they connect and when they combine, such a pleasure to watch. Their ball speed, how quickly they play, how they can move through the thirds and go through teams is remarkable. I think it's much for a muchness this year in the division, but that feels like as good a team as I've seen. But again, Norwich pressed them really well and made good decisions, probably in terms of their off-the-ball work. And that is a huge area where they've improved under Philippe Clement. They're proactive. They go after teams. Their front 5 were pressing with real intensity, and they were being supported by a high line in terms of really squeezing that pitch. And in that sort of spell that followed that good opening from Borough, they had some opportunities. Jovan Makama had a couple of sights at goal that Bryn saved. They had a couple of set pieces, and they began to feel their way into the game, which then makes what happened next all the more frustrating, because Norwich are playing out. It's their own goal kick, and they just had a spell where they were trying to bounce the ball off Wright and McLean, just to try and break Borough's press. It was a game of 2 presses, really, and Borough pressed, I thought, superbly for the majority of the afternoon. And Norwich in this spell where they're moving the ball around their back 4, I think it's Rory McConville, and I spoke to him post-game, and he kind of held his hands up at this, had 2 opportunities for me to play forward and to play through the lines and into midfield, which then, if you do that, breaks the press. But Norwich progressed up the pitch, and what happened subsequently didn't. So they had opportunities to do that and to play forward, and to progress the ball, and they didn't take those. And when you do that and you just then kind of go the other way, it invites more pressure, it heightens the press, it drags you lower down the pitch, and then Kovacevic just makes a really poor decision. Kenny McLean shows for the ball. Kovacevic can see the pitch. McLean can't. He's running towards his own goal. And I think the fact he's doing that is almost to try and create some space in the middle of the pitch behind, because in doing so, he takes a player with him. Instead, Kovacevic plays it to his feet. McLean tries to curl the ball out to Rory McConville. It's a pretty poor pass. Borough are on it quickly. Conway wins it back. Target lays it off. But yeah, take absolutely nothing away from the finish from Hayden Hackney, who curled that ball beautifully into the top corner away from Vladan Kovacevic into the back of the net for 1-0. And that was the game's winner. And look, I know that there'll be people at home and people who are watching this game who, as ever, when teams play out from the back and get punished, there's a real frustration around it because it feels self-inflicted and it feels avoidable. The ball clearly, and for me, it's less about the ideology of when of do you do it or do you not do it. It's about moments and choosing the time to do it and almost playing the situation. I felt that was probably an example of too many of those Norwich players not playing that situation, and a culmination, yes, of Kovacevic who makes the error, but also of what I said earlier, 2, 3, 4 scenes ago, where they had opportunities after those bounce passes to progress the ball up the pitch, didn't take it. And there were a couple of moments before that as well where they played sort of bounce passes off their midfielders to get forward, backwards to go forwards, that kind of broke the press that then Borough came wise to. So again, you have to adapt to all of these situations. The fact that your opponent picks up on what you're doing, but also from Kovacevic's perspective, the fact that you just need to clip the ball into an area thereafter and get your team up the pitch then. And if you can't play through a press in terms of through it, you need to play over it. And that was a moment where, yeah, he just needed to play over it, just needed to clip the ball and give a wide player or Makama, who clearly was central today, a percentage ball to go and win it. Because then if you lose the ball at that end of the pitch, at least you've got opportunities to reset. What I will say is I think there was ample opportunity for Norwich after the turnover to win the ball back. But again, I don't want to take anything from what was a really superb strike. And again, thereafter, I thought Norwich recovered really well and ended the first half really positively. They went into half time and more touches in the box, higher expected goals rate, more shots. I think all of that is incredibly positive against a team, like we say, who have been going so well. And I think this is their 5th win on the spin and our level on points at the top of the championship. And as I said, on current form over basically since Philippe Clement has been in charge, since Kim Hellberg has come in, scored the most goals, conceded the fewest, taken the most points. They're a really serious outfit. And Norwich did more than match them for that first half. And I felt it was a really good effort. And probably just didn't have the quality at the end of their moves. They got in lots of promising areas. Ahmed, Slimane. There was one moment where Wright won the ball and just overhit a pass to Fisher when there was that turnover. And he just got out of a duel and just overhit a pass that meant Fisher was kind of stretching on the cross. And just kind of little half moments like that where they were able to kind of connect promising opportunities to clear-cut chances and moments. And that I think will be probably their biggest frustration today. Start of the second half, I thought Norwich were a combination of two. I thought Norwich's distances were just wrong a little bit. I didn't think their use of the ball was as good. I thought Borough improved. I thought their use of the ball was better. I thought they were beginning to punish Norwich a little bit more in terms of with that and making them pay. I thought Norwich looked a little bit naturally that their energy had sapped a little bit. And Borough, probably similarly to Norwich, really got in lots of promising areas without really creating much. The best opportunity I can think of came from a corner that was recycled into the box. Malenda, who looks a very, very good centre-half that they've signed from the MLS. Neat 1-2. His cross across the face of goal that Whittaker just steers wide. But there was a lot of pressure, a lot of territory, a lot of possession. They were almost killing Norwich with the ball in terms of the way that they played. And when Norwich did win it back, they just didn't have that quality. And because their distances were so large at points, they were unable to connect and find passes to move up the pitch. So self-inflicting and just in this cycle, really, of not being able to use the ball in the way that they would have liked. Then obviously the big moment comes where Conway is put in behind. He takes the ball past Kovacevic, who comes out and fouls him. People inside the stadium, in the home sections at least, were absolutely furious that wasn't given as a red card for the Norwich keeper. But actually, I think you watch it back, he's taken his touch away from goal first and foremost, but also Fisher does so well in reading that situation and getting beyond Kovacevic and making sure that essentially he was not the last man, because I think Kovacevic probably had little choice but to take Conway out. And those two factors that I mentioned, the ball going away from goal, Fisher in recovery, I think that makes it, for me, an obvious yellow card, even though it is outside of the penalty area. So that was the right decision. But yeah, in the second half, in truth, Norwich City didn't have the moments, the chances to get back into this game. I don't think they had a single shot on target for the second half. They had one big one towards the end where Jovan Makama was sent in behind. Bryn kind of hesitates. Makama latches onto that. He clips the ball over him. I think Bryn just gets a very good slight touch that takes it behind Makama. But then Dale Fry is second to that ball. He would have had a tap in, but yeah, just probably didn't quite get it over Bryn in the way he would have liked. And yeah, Dale Fry able to clear. There was a free kick later on that McConville glanced wide. There was another chance earlier on in the half where Slimani found himself in a pocket of space driving towards goal, where he just was for me, a bit late, snatched at the opportunity a little bit towards the end. It hits Chris Goran on the back of the ankle, bounces up beautifully for Makama, who connects with it really well and just too powerful, leans back too much and guides that volley over the bar. So yeah, all in all, I think probably a moment and a game won on quality. But I think if you look at the overall trends from a Norwich City perspective, I think it's immensely positive that Norwich have been able to come here and compete with, as I've said a few times, a really good team. I'd be shocked from this point if Middlesbrough didn't go on to win the league. The quality that they have, I really like that midfield too, and have for a while of Hackney and Morris. Morgan Whittaker's a good player. Tommy Conway in terms of his tenacity. They played Luke Ayling centrally to kind of try and deal with some of Jovan Makama's threats, and I thought that was effective. Kim Hellberg, clearly a very astute tactician in terms of what they do on the ball and off the ball. I thought their pressing was immense for periods. So for Norwich to engage with all of that and go toe to toe with that for extended periods of this game, I think is immensely positive. That again, to kind of carry on the themes that we've spoken about in recent weeks, that isn't something that is indicative of a team that goes down. But ultimately, clearly, it's the result, isn't it, that is the one that people are going to look at. And the overall picture, I think, given how they have performed towards or how other teams around them have performed today, it's not the worst thing in the world. So this week was always going to be a test, and probably less so of their survival credentials, although probably indirectly that, but also about how much progress they've made under Philippe Clement. And I think you could see it today, a team that was organised, structured, yeah, a little bit lacking in quality, absolutely, in the final moments. But I think clearly a team that is moving in the right direction. And again, if this game was played 6 months from now, it'd be really interesting to see how much closer, if at all, Norwich could get to Middlesbrough. But they've got out of the way 2 really tough games. They've taken 3 points from them. I thought they were the better team against Coventry on Monday. I thought for periods they did well, but I think ultimately probably Borough did enough just about to win this game in terms of how they defended. Would a point have been drastically, would it have been a major injustice? I don't think it would have been, but probably on the margins of how the game transpired, Borough were probably better on the day. And I think when you have that endeavour, when you have that application, if there's a moment of quality that comes and wins the game, I think it's hard to do anything but to hold your hands up. And like I said, I still think the general trends are positive. And obviously Norwich now bounce into a period, as I mentioned, where you look at the next few games, Blackburn at home next weekend, absolutely massive game for Norwich if they can avoid defeat in that. Obviously, if they could win it, then it would be fantastic for their survival hopes and put a real distance between them and Blackburn. But I think really, as long as they don't get beat there, that result will be okay. Then away to Oxford, then it's West Brom in the FA Cup. And then it is Sheffield Wednesday at home. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Sheffield Wednesday at home, I think. No, Birmingham at home and then Sheffield Wednesday at home. Apologies. So 3 of the next 4 championship games, all at Carrow Road. 4 of the next 5, all at Carrow Road. And again, another opportunity for them to just keep building this momentum and this progress that we are seeing under Philippe Clement. And I think today was an indication just of how much in all aspects of the game they have improved, but particularly off the ball. Their pressing first half, the way they kind of suffocate or try to suffocate Middlesbrough in avoiding letting them out was really superb at points. And yeah, I think you could see that this was a game between 2 good sides, and probably the slightly better one won it on the day. But Norwich's aim clearly is slightly different to Middlesbrough's at the moment, and that is about trying to get themselves away from that relegation zone. And if today's evidence we are looking from a performance perspective, I think there's a lot there to give you encouragement that they will be capable of doing that over the next 16 games or so, with ahead of what is an absolutely huge month, but one they've got home advantage in. And if they can replicate a lot of what we saw today in terms of that proactivity, in terms of that pressing, coupled with the steps forward against Coventry, where they added creativity and attacking prowess and kind of transitional threat, and we saw a little bit of that today. And I think there's huge potential with Ahmed and Diallo, with the pace, with kind of how that puts defenders on the back foot, but also the depth they can run to create space centrally. There was clearly the Pelle Mattsson hole here today, and Jacob Wright isn't Pelle Mattsson. He's a very good footballer, but he's a very different footballer. I think if Norwich can, between now and Monday, add an extra ball in there, just gives them better balance, better, ballast as well in midfield alongside Kenny McLean, then I see absolutely no reason why this team cannot continue with the steps it has taken over the last month. And I think you look at January as a whole, it's been an incredibly impressive return of points, haul of points, but also a really impressive performance level and consistency within those performances. And I'd even include today in that as well. So, yeah, look, defeat, but I think those 1,300 Norwich fans, hopefully everyone watching at home as well, feels that positivity has been restored because of that endeavour and the collective spirit that they showed. Philippe Clement got booked towards the end. I just think Championship referees need to learn that Jovan Makama is just bigger than people. He's not necessarily fouling them. For me, he's got his arm out. The defender's got his arm on him. There's contact between the both of them. It's a real tussle for the ball, and the referee, as he did for me, probably too much this afternoon, sometimes in Norwich's favour, to be fair, just seemed to pick up bits and pieces and made it a really bitty game towards the end. But again, I think I'll round off with this. I think how nervy this was naturally because of the situation. Norwich have been there. Every 3 points feels absolutely massive when you're in that race for the Premier League. But the fact it was so nervy, the celebrations, the scenes at the end, is indirectly a real positive for Norwich City and the way that they've came here, compete, applied themselves, and that's something I think they've really got better at under Philippe Clement, staying in games. And if you do that in the Championship, as that Makama chance towards the end proves, more likely than not, you get an opportunity to nick something and keep you and to take something from a game, even if you maybe don't deserve that, or if you haven't edged that. So yeah, right. I'm cold. I've forgotten my coat, so I'm going to head back down to the press area and warm up. Plenty more reaction. We've got Philippe Clement, Rory McConville, Kim Helberg, all their reactions up on YouTube now. We've got a long trip back to Norfolk to go. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Keep it locked to Pink and channels for everything over the next couple of days with transfer deadline day. Mohamed Traore is heading in the right direction. Hopefully a midfielder as well, but sadly not a left back. Norwich City, that's cursed, isn't it? It's like is it the Professor of the Dark Arts? It's kind of a cursed position, isn't it, at Norwich City? So yeah, some sort of solution is going to need to be found to that, but I think that's going to be internal. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you later.